Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another extraordinary interview on News and Brews. But before we do that, out to correspondent Drew Crow.
What's up, IME West? You might see me in an outfit change. I had a nice suit on this morning. And you might be like, Drew, why did you change your clothes? It's because I was interacting with the IME West Student Summit section where we had 5 different high schools all around the California area introduced to the amazing careers and the technology that's in this building. So if you all see groups of high school students walking the shop floor, make sure you reach out, make sure you say what's up to these kids and talk to them, because I met somebody today that is not only inspiring, but very accomplished. She is from the screenager Gen Z generation, and she is already a rocket engineer for one of the top companies that we all know. And she's a podcast host. Sharon, would you please join me? Thank you for coming down. Now, I was so inspired by your journey. You talked to the kids, but you were not just inspiring the kids, you were inspiring me. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got into engineering and your path? Because I heard that you're not good at math.
Yeah. So in high school, I was actually going to a more technical-centered high school. I went to both Troy High School and I transferred to Sunny Hills. And they both have a pretty decent engineering program. And so they have a FIRST robotics team that I was a part of. And so that's how I kind of got my I got to dip my toes in to learn a little bit more about engineering. But that being said, even though that was something that really interested me, I wasn't good at math, and I never took physics in high school. I actually failed all of my math classes in high school. I had to retake second semester of every single one of my high school math classes and take summer school. But now I'm a rocket engineer, so yeah.
So you're not just a rocket engineer, you are somebody that is, I'll call it a rocket pioneer, so to speak. I call Gen Z the screenagers, and a lot of times people say screenagers are not motivated. They don't want to work. They don't want to do these things. But not only are you killing it in your career, but you are giving back and you're being visible for the next generation. Why is that important to you?
Yeah, so I really believe that you can't be what you can't see. And so for me, there's not a lot of women in engineering, and I really wanted to encourage more women and like first-generation college students, because I went to Cal State Fullerton, and a lot of my friends were first-generation college students. They came from Hispanic backgrounds, African-American backgrounds, and all of us were like, what is an internship? How do we get one? You get paid for an internship? That's crazy, right? And they pay you more than like a normal like minimum wage job. And so because I went through all those experiences, my parents weren't engineers. I had to figure it all out by myself. My friends and I were like tripping over stuff. We made mistakes. We learned it the hard way. And I was like, instead of having these other kids figure it out the hard way, why not just give them all the tips that I wish I had when I was a college student and in high school?
Thank you so much for the role that you're playing, not just for our industry, but for the future people that are going to be in our industry. The last thing I want you to do, I want you to shout out the podcast, let people know where they can hear you and hear these stories that you're showcasing of the different faces and walks of life in this engineering industry.
Yeah, so you can find my podcast, Tech Exploited, on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and you could also follow me on Instagram at Tech Exploited as well, where I post weekly tips on things you could be doing to be successful in the engineering field.
Thank you so much. Thank you for breaking the stereotypes. Thank you for breaking down walls. Thank you for creating paths for more people that look like you and me and everybody else in the manufacturing industry and engineering, and showing that it's possible to get a career and to do great things at such a young age. You're amazing. But right now, we have another interview that's coming up. I'm going to throw it over to Sami Birch.
Thanks, Drew. What an amazing impact you are all making on young minds. Well, welcome back to News and Brews. I'm Sami Birch, and I'm here today with Rob Spiegal. Rob is an accomplished writer. He's the editor of Design News, reporting on all things manufacturing. Rob, welcome.
Welcome. Thanks for having me, Sami.
Rob, so talk a little bit about Design News. You cover shows, and what do you focus on?
Design News goes out primarily to design engineers, and that includes everything from designing medical devices to designing iPhones to designing automobiles. And an awful lot of what the design engineer has to do is prepare the products for manufacturing. So it's a design to manufacturing portion of the design world. And so we cover everything. We're a horizontal publication. We cover everything from medical to automation to automotive, aerospace, you name it. And we cover all aspects of the technology involved, which would be 3D printing, AI, manufacturing and automation technology. So we cover a lot.
Man, that must have a huge impact on people in our industry. So, Rob, you're a journalist, a poet.
Yeah.
You write short stories. You're the
do.
author of 6
How
books.
do you even know that?
You're kind of a big deal. What do you look for when you are, you're looking for a story? What are some of the, I guess, exciting aspects to make something for you say, let's explore that a little bit more, and let's figure out how we can tell that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We look at what's going to help users, what's going to help engineers, what do engineers need to know. They're on the run like anybody else. They don't have a whole lot of time to sit down and do research. They research the things they have to research. And as for emerging technology, they kind of see that on the run. And so we know that we're serving it up to very busy people. We try to keep it concise, and we try to keep it related to what they need to know in their job. And as far as story, yes, we try to present the information as much as we can in a story form because, as human beings, that's what we retain. We understand stories and we retain stories.
Yeah, it's like you want to get down to the technical aspect, but you've got to create the world around it in order for it to have a lasting impact, I think.
That's right, absolutely. We have to show how it applies to them in their work and in what they're doing to make their job easier, to make their job more effective.
Yeah, wonderful. So you've been at the show for a couple of days. What are you seeing the trends for some upcoming issues? What stories are you focusing on in the future? Is it automation, additive, cybersecurity? Is there a certain area that you think your readers are really looking forward to hearing from you about?
Yeah, I'm sure you've probably noticed it here at the show. Everything is about AI. Everything is about artificial intelligence. In this field, though, what's really interesting is artificial intelligence has been around for a couple of decades in a lot of different forms, from generative design, where the computer figures out, okay, this is what the bike needs to look like for its lightest, strongest form. That's been around for a while, and so has predictive maintenance in manufacturing, where the computer systems can tell when the motor's about to fail before it fails. That's artificial intelligence, and it's been around for years. But recently, it seems to have entered more areas. You can pretty much go around this show, go booth to booth, and say, how are your products and services playing into artificial intelligence, and they will have an answer.
Yeah, that's something that I definitely noticed at this show and in some of the interviews that I've had throughout the last couple of days is just the ways that we're using AI. And, speaking from my experience in the automation space, like we've used AI for visual inspection for quite a while, but in the last couple of years, we've really learned how can we use AI to do other parts of our jobs?
Yeah.
So I wonder, as a writer and an editor, are there tools that you're using that fall into that category, or are you kind of more pen and paper still?
Well, we developed a team. We're part of a 6 magazine group, and you can look at the show and see what the magazines are, like Packaging Today, Plastics, Medical. And we developed a team to look at how ChatGPT can help us in our work as writers, and it was surprising. There are some things you have to accept, that ChatGPT lies, so you can't depend on it for the truth. And if you push it on its lies, it will double down on the lie. So you have to be careful with it. But, we found that there were some uses for it, and one is I will take a topic, say like AI and robotics, and I will ask chat, what are some good questions for me to ask? And it's getting very good at developing. In the past, it would throw out about 12 or 15 good questions. Now it will turn out about 30 questions categorized in different areas, like AI in ethics for robots and AI in systems. So it's been very interesting to see that develop. Today I asked it who was going to win the Super Bowl, and it was very honest with me. It says, I don't have any information more recent than January of 2022, so I don't know.
That's amazing. Well, but I bet somebody's developing a model to help use AI to predict who might win.
Yeah, another one I tried, I don't know if you're familiar with Copilot. Copilot is Microsoft's new, it used to be called something else. And I asked it, and what it did is it took from the sports sites and said, well, this sports site thinks this team is going to win, this sports site thinks that team's going to win, and its final conclusion was that it was going to be KC.
Okay, all right. Well, all the Swifties out there will celebrate.
Yeah.
That was for you, Leah and Anne. So you've seen a lot of AI. Was there any particular story? So that's how we're going to use it as writers, and I found that too, of helping with outlines, helping with set up kind of skeletons on how I might frame some work. Are there ways that you see, is there any specific things you've seen at the show that you want to feature, stories that are really kind of groundbreaking and you feel like that's something you'd like to write about?
Yeah, absolutely. I was visiting a booth called Launchpad upstairs, and they have this technology where you take your CAD drawing of a particular product that might have, 8 or 10 different components, and their software will look at that and show you how to manufacture it in terms of this has to be done first, this has to be done second, and that's all AI figuring out how to take this CAD drawing and put it together in manufacturing. So I thought that was pretty nifty. Another company upstairs, IGUS, which makes a lot of plastic bearings and cables, you can take your camera, point it to an object like a bicycle, and their GO system will say, okay, for the bicycle, you're going to need these components, and these are the ones that we have. And if you don't find your product when you put the camera on it, it will ask you what that product is, and you can add the product to their library.
Wow, so it's making production easier, making manufacturing easier, but you still kind of need that human there it's not going to automate everything, I guess, is what I'm suggesting.
No, it's not going to automate everything.
That's amazing. Well, those sound like really interesting stories. Are there challenges that you see facing our space so we talked about some interesting opportunities with AI, but what challenges do you feel are around in the industry, and do you focus on telling those types of stories?
Yeah, one of the challenges, of course, is that AI is going to lead a robot revolution that's going to take over the world. And we all know that's true. In fact, if you ask ChatGPT what it intends to do, it will tell you that it intends to take over the world. So obviously it's gathering this information from all the fear stories, and it has incorporated that into its reality.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we all need to be paying attention to. Well, hey, I wanted to thank you for joining me today. Is there any last things that you'd like to share about what you've got going on with Design News and how people can get a hold of you?
I'll say one thing. We're at designnews.com, and since this is the Thursday before Super Bowl, we have like 5 different stories up right now on the Super Bowl, including stories about the technology involved in it, the technology in covering it, and we even have a very interesting story on Patrick Mahomes' helmet, which broke about 2 weeks ago in the Super Cold, and why it broke, and how helmets can be reconstructed so they don't break in the Super Cold.
That's amazing. Well, thank you again, Rob, for joining us, and I look forward to learning more about how Design News is covering the Super Bowl.
Okay, thank you, Sammy.